stuff. I also have to walk this tightrope and accommodate half these kids that hate Israel. He says, I'm doing my best. I am American, by the way. I don't actually work for you, even though you give me money. And you're going to call me an anti-Semite and pull your funds? He's saying, wow, how am I supposed to accommodate you any longer? And then a month later, this is early September, this is where we get this text where he says, they're pulling the money. They are leaving me with no choice. And I think when you put this whole story together, you actually don't see a person who is having a change of heart. Maybe on some level, and Andrew Colvett reacted to the text messages. He's the spokesperson for Turning Point. He said, look, Charlie was against Islam. He was against Hamas and the Palestinians in some sense. He said he supports Israel because Israel is the custodian of the holy sites, the Christian holy sites. He said, and he believed that Israel was part of Western civilization and believed in this like Judeo-Christian thing. Mm-hmm. And I believe that Charlie believed in all that until he died. That's what Colvett said, and I believe Charlie believed that also. He also reaffirmed that on the Megyn Kelly interview. Colvett said, but his criticisms were that the war in Gaza should end. He disagreed with the conduct of Israel in the war in Gaza, the attacks on the churches, some of the aggressive attacks on the Palestinians. And he disagreed that they were dragging us into a war with Iran. He didn't like that. So I don't believe that Charlie Kirk was pushing against Israel because of this, that he turned on Israel. I don't think he turned on Israel. I think, like everybody, he had some qualms about some of the things Israel was doing, but he was willing to work with them.
He was simply asking questions. That's how I see it. He simply was asking some questions, valid questions, by the way.
He wanted America to continue supporting Israel, but he was put in this position where there was a whole section of the right wing that broke. Tucker, Candace, the Groypers, whoever, they got way too big to ignore. And as the leader of the Big Tent, he had to keep everybody happy. He had to accommodate everybody. He wanted to accommodate the donors that were pro-Israel. He also wanted to accommodate Tucker and the actual students. And trying to accommodate the students alienated the donors. Charlie tried to keep the tent open and said, look, you're not anti-Semitic for saying Epstein was Mossad. You're not anti-Semitic because you're Israel critical. You can still be a part of Turning Point. He said, you can still call yourself a card-carrying member. I don't want to alienate you. We're going to find a way to mediate your newfound opinions and keep you on side. But the Jewish donors said, no, not good enough. You need to push those people away. And Charlie's trying to say, no, but we really can't. I'm not going to do that, and we can't push them away. And the Jewish donors said, well, then we're cutting off the money. And Charlie said, well, then you're leaving me no choice. If you are not going to be reasonable and you won't let me accommodate everybody, then I have no choice but to abandon you and go further to the other side.
And that's what happened when you receive money from AIPAC, right? You are just on the behold of a lot of these people that give you money, instead of just really moving towards a goal or the goal that you want. And I think grassroots movements are better. Grassroots movements are better, you know.
I think that is
the same reason.
That is a much more nuanced perspective on what was happening. I continue to believe that he was not turning on Israel per se. I don't even think he was turning on the pro-Israel donors. I think that he was put in an impossible situation, and the donors were breathing down his neck, as they always do. It is the pro-Israel side that is intolerant, aggressive. They're like berserkers. And you see how they are. They're insane. The pro-Israel donors, they're all like Mark Levin. They're all these like weaselly, goblin-esque, vicious haters. And you see Mark Levin, he gets on his show and says, Tucker's the worst anti-Semite since Hitler. Like, they're insane. And that's how they all are. And if Charlie is not basically bowing down before the Western Wall, if he's not making 6 million trips back to Israel to kiss the ring, they're lumping him in with the rest. And
I think it's true what he say. Like, I think it was him that said that, look at what they do when you visit Israel. They make you go through this kind of ritual, like a submission ritual, where you have to go here for the Holocaust and just touch the wall here. This is what we do. It's like a submission kind of program that they go through.
To me, the real story there is not that Charlie flipped. It's that Israel is alienating literally everybody.
Exactly.
Gradually and incrementally over time, they're alienating everybody. All these people that started with questions went from 0 to 60 because they were told by the Jews, you can't ask questions. You're asking questions, you don't support the war, you're an anti-Semite, you're out. And that happened to Candace? That's literally what happened to Candace. She was at Daily Wire and she said, you know, I don't think the Palestinians should be genocided. And Shapiro and Clavin and the Jews at Daily Wire get together and say this. She's out of control. We have to take her out, right? That's what they said about Candace. They would not give her an inch to question. And she split. Same thing with Tucker. You could see that even a year ago, Tucker was a little bit reluctant to criticize Israel. And the heat that he got, I think he was like, now you're pushing forward with Iran, now you lost me too.
Yeah.
Megyn Kelly, same story. Charlie Kirk, same story. Me, 10 years ago, same story. It's that they are pushing everybody away. And I would say that Charlie Kirk, he is somebody that wanted to support Israel, did support Israel, was one of their most loyal supporters, and I think if given the opportunity would have accommodated everybody. Would have accommodated Shapiro and Josh Hammer and Seth Dillon and Bill Ackman, who he reached out to, and Sean McGuire. All these guys were trying to get involved, but he was also trying to accommodate the other side. And Charlie was trying to have it all ways, but who vetoed this? It was the pro-Israel side. And that's why in the final tally, the last statement we have on this, it's Charlie Kirk saying, I am being boxed in. You pulled the plug on me. You left me with no choice. You're taking away the money. I'm trying to hold this thing together. You're being unreasonable. You're going to force me out of the pro-Israel. And I think that is realistically what took place there. Now, with all that being said, I think that it makes a lot less sense that they killed him because clearly their most wanted man is Tucker. Oh. They hate Tucker the most because Tucker is against them at this point. Explicitly, overtly, vocally, consistently, Tucker, and by the way, they're open about this, he is their number one op. And so I just find it hard to believe if they were going to take somebody out, who's their most wanted? It's not Charlie, it was Tucker. So for that reason, I find it hard to believe that they made a move. Here's the other thing. They plied Charlie Kirk with millions of dollars for years. If they wanted his allegiance, don't you think they would have just re-upped the money? It would have cost them $2 million to keep Charlie Kirk on side.
Good point.
You know, they pulled $2 million. That didn't work. Okay, publicly execute him and risk getting caught. Risk getting exposed and blamed and ruin everything. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, that's a good point.
2 days before...
Yeah, that does not make sense. And also, it'll be too risky, right? Way too risky. I'm not saying some of these folks probably wanted Charlie to be deleted, right? I'm not saying that, but I don't think that's what really happened.
Before he was killed, Charlie said, they're forcing me out. It sounds like, one, a decision hadn't been made. Maybe he was just venting. But clearly he was not resolved to turn on Israel, even if he was thinking about it privately. It also says that they kind of pulled the plug on him first. It doesn't look like they tried to win him back because there's a menu of options. There's bribery, there's blackmail, there's intimidation. Yeah. It doesn't seem like they tried any of that. Mm-hmm. Do the Israelis go from, you hosted the guy we really hate, to now you signed your death warrant? Again, I'm a little skeptical of that. And unless hard evidence is produced that there is some killer out there that is on the loose that is not Tyler Robinson, I'm very skeptical that there was that he was really martyred for Israel. I think in reality, And by the way, we don't have to, I'll put it this way. Just because I don't believe that Israel killed him does not mean that this does not shine a light on a bigger conversation, which is that whether they pulled the trigger or not, Charlie dying when he did shined a light on what was going through his head at the time.
Correct.
It shows us that, like, you know, whether Israel had a hand in his killing, it will ultimately be part of the story of Israel losing everyone, losing Western Europe, losing the world, losing Trump, losing Tucker, Candace, losing America, losing Charlie Kirk. And so we don't need to believe that they pulled the trigger, although I'm open to that if there's evidence to say that they still lost him. In the final tally, they lost him. And it's interesting where he would have gone, because it seems that Charlie Kirk was basically becoming a groyper. In the end, what was really left?
Okay.
In 2019, the Groyper War was waged, saying, you are too pro-Israel, you are too pro-legal immigration and liberal on race, you're too liberal on social issues and not strong enough as a traditional Christian.
I agree with that. And he probably, with a lot of these conversations happening, Charlie was taking note of what conservatism really means. And I think that really shined a light. I agree.
Over the past 6 years, he became very traditionally Christian and hostile to LGBT, feminism, all of it. So, concession on that. In the past couple of years, he's become very pro-white, calling for an immigration moratorium, really leaning into racial differences, talking about black crime, talking about the race in a more explicit way. Total concession on that. And in his final week on earth, he was also coming to see it our way on Israel. He said that Jewish donors match all the stereotypes. They're unreasonable. They're in bad faith. They're pushing me out. Screw it. Let's bring back Candace and Tucker. America Fest 2025 was shaping up to be the most Israel-critical event they've ever done.
Damn.
It became unpack. America Fest was on the verge of becoming unpack, and Tucker and Candace and all the speakers were going to sound like Michelle Malkin in 2019. We're going to sound like the Groypers in 2019. Now that is a motive for Israel to kill Charlie Kirk. Motive has now been established. We very clearly have a motive, because it looks like from all the evidence we have, that is where it was going. We will now never know, because Charlie Kirk is dead. But America Fest 2025 would have been Groyper Fest. It would have been Groyper Pack. It would have been GroyperCon. Bring back Tucker, bring back Candace, maybe bring back Nick Fuentes. And what would that have looked like? What do you think Tucker and Candace would have been speaking about at America Fest, the preeminent, biggest conservative convention in America in December 25, in the middle of the Gaza war, all the goings-ons? It would have sounded like Groyper War, and it would have basically sealed the deal, the Groyper ascendancy in the conservative movement, and in particular the youth
Groyper ascendancy
movement would have been a done deal. Did Israel take him out for that reason? I don't think it's a non-zero chance. I think they had a very clear motive to do it. I don't think it's likely, but I think what has been established is a very clear motive at the minimum. And I would say what we could say more than that is that Charlie Kirk certainly, I don't know that he was looking to leave the pro-Israel movement, but they did it to themselves. This is what they always overplay their hand. This is what they always do. These Jewish berserkers at the ZOA, at Daily Wire, at all these different, this constellation of institutions, the donors, it really is them. It just goes to show, for all the people that say, me or Tucker, whoever, we're obsessed with Israel, we can't get along. It's them. It's they that cannot get along.
Thank you, baby.
I have been open and willing to debate any of them. They shut me out. We are willing to host or platform any of them. They shut us out. We are willing and open to being good faith and honest and even charitable towards them. They get up on stage and say, I'm disgusted to share a stage with you. You're filth. You're horrible. They are so hateful. They are so intolerant. They are so fucking arrogant. They have done it to themselves. They have Candace Owens, Tucker, the Groypers. We are a golem that they have nobody but themselves to blame. It did not start this way for any of us. Do you think any of us, any of you watching, me, Tucker, Candace, Dave Smith, do you think any one of us woke up one day in America in the 21st century and we, out of a clear blue sky, became really interested in age-old anti-Semitic tropes? We woke up one day and started believing 19th century ancient tropes about Jewish people, these like anachronistic anti-Semitic blood libel? Of course not. We were pushed here. The Jews pushed us to this point.
Okay, now I don't. Yeah. So basically, he's like, there's some. I guess there's some. I will say, it might be a small possibility that the people from the hat press the delete button. Small possibility, not that it is small possibility. I think it's again. Stupid story, to be honest. I think it's a waste of time, and I don't like the fact that Candace Owens is just stretching this story like it's a gum, like chew a gum, man. If you have all the evidence, you have to release it at this point. You see what I'm saying? That's my position. Let me know what you guys think. We're gonna go now to Steven Crowder. He just sat down with a bunch of people from the hood.
Do you know what it means?
No, I'm not sure.
I'm going to ask that.
White people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
Where?
Across the country.
Ain't nobody coming after you. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody tripping on you and but these people in just as scared as them other folks that
They are if they get on a bus.
Not necessarily.
They are if they get on a train.
That lady wasn't in danger because that man was black. That lady was in danger because that man was crazy.
Nope.
Whenever we want to ask for equality and fairness, it's a problem. So white America.
So it spends several $1 trillion. When is it enough?
We're the bird.
No.
We're the bird. We're not stopping white America from doing anything.
You know what? The bird just burned down $4 billion worth of cities and 60,000 assaults.
No.
There's 3 times to 4 times as much homework than the black kid, and the white kid does 2 to 3. Why?
Because it's culturally, it's conditioned.
Exactly.
So why is it better parenting from Asian than white parents? Why?
You said what?
Well, we're having real talk. Why do young black men fight in packs?
Man, Steven Crowder.
So a couple of years ago, when I started Black and White on the gray issues, I sensed some growing discontent, or more of a racial divide in America than I'd experienced in my lifetime, and it seemed to be egged on by legacy media.
It's sad to see a lot of people going along with it.
The American people have felt safe in their home.
People who had absolutely no chance of victory.
Hate and racism towards black and brown people.
And as that evolved, and for the first time I walked into Stevie J's barbershop, I really was looking to sit down and talk with, but mainly listen to, real black Americans living the real American black experience, to see whether they shared the viewpoints of a lot of the public representatives, the now networkless Joy Reids of the world, or back then the Don Lemons, what they wanted me to believe.
I realized that CNN and MSNBC were full of shit.
And overall, it was a largely warm, productive conversation. I think served its purpose, so you can go check out that video to see what it was like. Fast forward to now, and not only have things not really improved, and according to many Americans, they're markedly worse. And if listening is important, I noticed that a lot of white Americans felt pushed to a point that they weren't even fully comfortable expressing.
I'll return, man.
But for the most part, when they did,